Hello. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this recorded, I thank you profusely for your support. What I'm here to do today is to actually start to break down how simple it was for me to get myself off of all medication, independent from big food, and heal myself from some pretty serious ailments. We're talking ADHD, BPH, depression, anxiety, anything, but a lot of stuff that I was on medication for and that I have now been able to become completely independent of. And I am no longer on any medications. I lost 30 plus pounds that I didn't even know I needed to lose. I feel better. I have great energy and I'm more focused than I've ever been in my entire life. And it is 100% due to what I have done as far as nutrition and diet and been able to put into my body. So, the main reason that I started this channel was because I'm just a regular dude and I have figured out how to do all of this and I want to share it with the world, but I'm not a YouTuber. This is my very first go at YouTube as far as making a steady, go at it, if you will. And so I might sound like nervous, unprofessional, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm someone who has done something that I don't see a lot of other people talking about, and that is I've actually healed myself. I'm not out there trying to sell the latest supplement or sell the latest biohack or get anybody to do something that maybe I'm not behind or I'm making money from or whatever. It's like, no, I'm literally just here to share how simple it really is to heal yourself completely. So uh let me just kind of explain where I was, that kind of led up to me getting sick and all of that. So I'm getting ready to turn 47. So currently, as I film this, I'm 46 years old. Last year, I was diagnosed with BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia, and I was put onto a medication that had some pretty wild side effects. And I wasn't down. I wasn't digging it. But that's kind of the issue that happened right now. That was the catalyst. But let's talk about what built up to that. So the big thing is, I was a fat kid, right? Grew up fat kid. I definitely didn't know anything about nutrition. I lived on Mountain Dew and gummy bears all through the 80s and 90s, just like everybody else. And that slowly starts to catch up with you. When I was 11 or 12, I was diagnosed with asthma. I had ADHD as well shortly thereafter, and medication after medication. And I've been on medication for decades. You start going through life and you start drinking alcohol and maybe doing some other things that you shouldn't be doing. And then I found out, oh, I'm an alcoholic and I can't stop drinking. So that proceeded to be a 20 to 25-year alcoholic career, which I have just celebrated 6 years sober, and I will never drink again. And I feel pretty good about that. I do have a video on my channel about how I did that. But all of that stuff starts to add up in your body. And about my kids were 2 years old, so this must have been about 2012. I went through a body transformation contest, and I do have some information on that in one of my videos. But it was when bodybuilding.com was really popular, and I went through a 12-week transformation where I lost like 60 plus pounds. I was eating 6 to 8 times a day, the chicken, broccoli, brown rice, typical bodybuilder meal, if you will. And I lost all that weight and I got in great shape, but I never really felt like my digestive system was working properly, and I kept on having all kinds of issues internally, and so that diet wasn't sustainable. And then you slowly start to leak back into your old life and your old habits, and you're not eating very well. So one of the big things is, I read the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret back then, and it was, it's pretty radical. It's like, whoa, this is pretty extreme. This is obviously written back in the early 1900s, so maybe there's some truth here, maybe there's not. But I never really thought much of it, and at the time I was reading a lot of nutrition material, so I kind of went through it all. Well, fast forward 10 years. I had been re-diagnosed with ADHD and got back on medications for ADHD, just to be able to function in corporate America, right? That was where I was, that was what I was doing, and I needed to be able to show that I was excelling at my focus. And so I got back on ADHD medication thinking that that would be the fix. Then I started, taking Zysol for allergies, and I started taking, I still had my asthma medication in the background because, of course, my lungs were still inflamed. But then the BPH diagnosis came, right? I started not being able to pee well. I started not being able to fully go when I was trying to pee. And so I went to the doctor to try to get that healed, and all they did was just throw me on another prescription. Well, if any of you have ever been on Flomax, the side effects of Flomax are, I don't necessarily want to discuss it here, but as a man with vitality and a wife, and I enjoy time with her, it was not something that I was really down with. So the light bulb went off in my head, and I remembered the mucusless diet healing system. So I went back and I reread it, and it was like just a flood of information that came into me. So um, I began to reorganize how I was taking in all of my nutrition, my grocery lists, what was in my refrigerator. And at the time, and this is still valid, I had a family, I have a family, my wife, my two kids, they're teenagers now. I still had to feed them, and they're not necessarily totally keen on going 100% vegan. And so I had to really start making two meals. But for me to heal and to see if it was possible for me to heal myself and get off of this medication, that's what I had to do. So I kind of went the split path, and I kept feeding my family, and we eat organic and we eat healthy, and I can cook really well. So I was able to continue to make healthy, nutritious meals, but not necessarily vegan for my family. But I went full mucusless diet. Now, there's one thing with being vegan, and there's another thing with being a mucusless diet, right? Because you can be vegan and, like I said earlier, live on Mountain Dew and gummy bears, but I think we all know that that's not the healthiest option, right? So it was really, I needed to break it down into what I could exactly eat. And that's where the beautiful thing about AI came in. Because as soon as I went into Chat GPT and I was like, hey, I'm going to change my life doing the mucusless diet healing system, it was like, yeah, sure. Boom, here's how you do it. It's that easy. So when I'm sitting here telling you that it's simple to change your life and change your health, especially now with AI at our disposal, it really is. So not letting any noise, not letting any influence, like no Instagram reels or TikTokers or YouTubers telling me how to heal, I just began implementing these basic core principles. So, the first and foremost was fasting, right? So, everybody gets scared when they think of not eating food. Fasting is really important for the body. There are there is tons of research done on it. There are tons of articles that you can read about it. ChatGPT in and of itself can break it all down for you in a TLDR situation. But basically, fasting allows your body to heal itself, right? When it's not digesting food, it then goes to work on healing itself. And that is true. 100%. So you can look up autophagy. When you look that up, it'll tell you that that's the system repairing old cells and kind of cleaning itself out. And that's what happens when you let your body not have to digest food for 12 to 18. Usually happens more so after the 24-hour mark. Um, and there you go. So fasting was huge. Now, when I say fasting, I wasn't going 24, 48, 7 days, without eating food. The basic fundamental way of fasting is intermittent fasting, which of course is a buzzword and everybody's crazy about it, but it really does work for me. And so after 12, after 1 o'clock p.m. is kind of when I'll start to think about maybe taking in some nutrition, and then I start listening to my body. But I pretty much will absolutely never, ever, ever eat before noon. So with that, so that's, I'll never eat before noon, but then I will also never, ever, ever eat after 6:30, 7 o'clock p.m. And that is my own personal window. It is a maximum 6 hour window that I allow myself to eat. But that's only a very small part of the total ability to detox and heal yourself. The most important part is discipline, because when you're fasting, discipline is what it takes to be able to stay clear of the cravings and to be able to stay away from things. Now, is it hard? Sometimes. I mean, Now that I've been doing it for a while, I'm able to go 2 days without eating, no problem. Just give me maybe some orange juice on one of the days, and the rest of the time I'll just drink water and tea. So, it is easy, but it's something you got to kind of work your body into, right? It's just like going to the gym. It takes discipline to get up and go to the gym. It takes discipline to stay at the gym, and even more so, it takes discipline to get up the next day and go to the gym. Well, fasting is very much like that. It takes the discipline to not eat, and then you have to know that you're going to cut off your eating at some point so that you can allow your body to rest and digest a little bit before you lay down into bed. And then when you wake up in the morning, you hydrate, flush with hydration, and then you start the fast all over again. So that takes discipline every single day to meet it and show up with it. So I don't want to harp on discipline too much because people hear discipline and they think, oh, I'm not a disciplined person. And let me just interject right there that I am not a disciplined person. And you talk to my family, you talk to my parents for crying out loud, they will tell you I am anything but a disciplined person. So this is one of those situations where if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to stop letting the noise come in and tell you what to do. Sorry. So nutrition. Um, this is where I lose a lot of people when I'm talking to them about how I did it, because I think a lot of people, when I tell them I completely healed myself from all pharmaceutical medications and I am no longer dependent on big food and I can go 2 or 3 days at a time without eating, no problem, never had more energy, never felt better, never been more focused in my entire life. And they're like, how did you do it? And then I tell them and they're like, oh, well, I can't do that. Well, what do you want me to tell you? I'm here to tell you what I did. This is what worked for me. And I'm sitting living proof that you can be, after being a former habitual dependent on big pharma and big food, you can completely reverse that. And I'm talking some ailments like asthma and ADHD, which there are still no known cures for. I no longer experience symptoms of, period. BPH, which the only alternative to maybe heal it was looking at surgery, which no thanks. If I was able to completely reverse that and get off of those medications, and now I am actually functioning better downstairs than I ever have, that's that to me is enough gold. Like I don't need to hear anybody else. I'm not going to argue with anybody else. This is what worked. I just slowly started to feel better. But the nutrition is the most important part. So yes, it means going vegan. I have continued to do research on animal products and animal byproducts that the body may need in order to function, but I am not finding it. I am still seeing that every major nutritional organization out there recognizes a plant-based diet as a pure form of nutrition. You can get all the protein you need, you can get all the amino acids, you can get all the different uh, nutritional needs that you need out of it. But nonetheless, it's extremely possible to do. Um, so, what did I eat and what do I do? Well, if you read the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret, which, by the way, is over 100 years old, and yes, some of the information in that book has been debunked. And the heart is a pump; it's not a valve. If you read the book, you'll understand what I'm saying. But there's a few things in that book that really hit home for me. And if I could break that book down into one sentence, it is that food is either healing you or it is hurting you. There is no in between. There's no cheat days. There's no, well, if I eat mostly this, but then I can have a little bit of this. Nope. A 100% discipline on the diet is the only way that this happens. So that's probably the most important takeaway from that book is is that food either heals you or it hurts you. So, with that in mind, you start thinking about, okay, the mucus food. So, food either forms mucus in your body or it doesn't. And again, this is where ChatGPT comes in. It knows it. I'm not the guy who did all of this research. Someone else over the last 100 years decided to do all this research and has it in a public domain so that I can draw on it from ChatGPT. So, all you have to do is put in the prompt of ChatGPT, I want to go mucusless. I want to start eating only by a mucusless diet. Help me start today. And boom, it'll be more information than you probably wanted. But the basic idea is that your food needs to be eliminating waste from your body, right? It will hold nutrition into it. It helps your digestion system move. It's getting proper probiotics and prebiotics, and you're getting all the nutrition from the fruits and vegetables that you need. And then because your system is so clean and it's just loving all of this new food, it's going to absorb more of those nutrients and you're just going to feel better. So there are days where I don't eat. There are days where I only drink maybe a little glass of grapefruit and orange juice, and it's like this big, and that's it. And then I feel totally fine. And I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up the next morning. And then maybe the next day I'll have kind of a bigger meal. So there are really two staples of nutrition that I stick to, and that is a smoothie and a power bowl. And I have highlighted these in many of my videos, but kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about is the smoothie, right? The smoothie to me is absolutely incredible because it is a way that you can quickly get a ton of nutrition into one meal, and you can also make it so that you are able to um, digest that food a lot better, because one of the biggest things of digesting food is chewing your food, or making sure that when the food enters the stomach and starts to work its way through the intestines, that it's not having to work harder to break that food down. So chewing and making sure your food is liquefied before it goes down your throat is a huge part of proper digestion, and obviously the smoothie takes care of that for you, right? So excuse me, I'm going to get some tea. And I definitely, please notice the cup. It says "Life happens, coffee helps." The only reason that I have this mug is not because it's full of coffee, but because it's really big, and so I can make a huge cup of tea and confuse people because they're like, "I thought you didn't drink coffee." I'm like, "Well, just because the cup says I drink coffee doesn't mean I drink coffee." I am going to talk about what was the hardest part about fasting. So the hardest part about fasting for me was beginning to take in no breakfast, right? You got to think about breakfast being a just a terrible idea. Breakfast as a whole was just awful for me. It definitely weighed me down. I always found that I was getting hungry again within a few minutes, and so when I eliminated breakfast, I actually started noticing that my focus and my energy were improving throughout the day, instead of the typical eat a heavy breakfast and then have to snack again at 10 and then have to eat a big lunch at noon just to maintain that level of energy because my body's just being overstimulated. So the hardest part about fasting for me was giving up breakfast, but for sure it is by far the greatest thing that I ever did. So the social pressures and eating out are probably the most frustrating part about this, right? I don't eat out. I am kind of fortunate that I've got a couple of kids that this is, and I say fortunate only in one sense. It's not fortunate that they have these issues, but I'm very fortunate in that I have been able to get my family to where we pretty much only eat at home. We don't ever really eat out unless we're going on vacation or something like that. But even then, it has to be well thought out. But I have kids that have a peanut allergy, and I've got a gluten allergy in the house. So staying away from gluten is important, and not having any nuts anywhere near my son is very important as well. So a way to handle the social pressure is to know that you're healing yourself. I kept telling myself that I'm going through these physical ailments. Anybody else who has an opinion about how I'm eating, they're not going through this physical trauma that I was going through. Um, I am healing myself. When you have a broken leg, you're not going to let somebody tell you, "Oh, you should just go run a marathon, dude. Your leg will heal eventually." Like, no, dude, my leg's broken. I need to let it heal before I can do anything else. You've got to take the same mentality with this. You've got to be able to get yourself to understand that um, they are not you, and only you can affect how your body is going to feel. If you start listening to what other people tell you, all of a sudden things fall off the tracks, and now you're not healing anymore. So the biggest thing about social pressure is to just push it away. You can't let it internalize. You can't take it in. You have to just understand that this is a journey of yourself, and you are going to be flying in the face of some very serious headwinds for sure. So what do I eat in a typical day? um, like right now it's 9 a.m. my time, 9:20. I have not eaten yet. I've had two of these. This is my third big 1,500 milliliter jar full of lemon juice, sea salt, and water. And this is my third cup of herbal tea now this morning. I usually get up at 4:30 a.m. and I don't eat until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been pretty standard now. So I usually am doing one meal a day, which is the OMAD method. So while I am on the one meal a day method, I usually will do just a smoothie. And the smoothie recipes and all that stuff I'm going to break down in other videos, but a very nutritious, mucusless smoothie of fruits and vegetables and maybe some healthy fats. And that's it. So I will, if I'm not feeling like a smoothie, which honestly, that's 7-day week, 6 of the 7 days I'm going to be drinking a smoothie, and that's the only thing I have all day. The other thing is going to be a power bowl. So a power bowl can consist of quinoa as the base. And then I usually do some massaged kale where I'll massage some kale with lemon juice and salt. And then I will use that lemon juice to maybe drizzle a little bit of tahini into and make a tahini drizzle. I'll put some avocados and tons of fresh herbs. Cilantro, dill, and fennel are all fantastic scrubbers and will do wonders for cleaning out your body and eliminating waste. So it's either a power bowl or it's a smoothie. Now, there are some other nutritional intakes that I do. Typically, before I eat, about 30 minutes before I eat, I will do some fresh squeezed, not store bought. I will do some fresh squeezed grapefruit and orange juice mixed with a little bit of coconut water. So, kind of think of a rule of thirds 1-1-1, coconut water, grapefruit juice, and orange juice. And that will kind of set up. Oh, and I put some shaved ginger. I get one of those microfilm shavers, or a zester, if you will, and I zest some ginger that I keep frozen, and I just pull it out of the freezer and I zest it right into the drink, and I drink that. So I've got ginger, orange juice, grapefruit juice, and coconut water going in that really just kind of lines the gut and helps me digest everything a lot better. Kind of primes the system, if you will. If I have it and if I feel like it, about 30 minutes later, I will drink some celery and cucumber juice. And sometimes I'll throw a teaspoon of spirulina in that just to kind of boost the protein content of it a little bit. And then about 30 minutes after that is when I will either consume the smoothie or the power bowl. So that's really it. My nutrition window is more often than not held to a 1 hour intake, where on that one, I take in the juice and then I take in 30 minutes later the celery juice, and then I take in 30 minutes later the actual meal, if you will. And I've been on that now for 6 months or so, and I just continue to feel better every single day. And it's unbelievable what's going on inside my body. So, the other thing is nutrition as far as supplements. I do not take a multivitamin and I do not take a ton of supplements. I don't believe in that. I really want to try to get everything that I can in my body from fruit and vegetables as much, as much as possible. But there are a few key nutrients that I do try to take in, so I do supplement those. Vitamin D3 and K2, I do take a supplement for that. I live in one of the sunniest states in Arizona. I do go out and sunbathe. The other thing that I'll take in is a plant-based EPHA, DHA supplement, and then the only other thing that I will take is magnesium. So those are kind of the three main staples that I take as far as supplementation. There are some tinctures that help with detox that I continue to take as well. And for focus and helping with energy levels, because while I am supposedly ADHD, although I'm not so sure that's not just a buzzword, I do feel like I am able to get better energy out of something like a lion's mane or cordyceps mushrooms tinctures. So I do take those. For detox, I believe wholeheartedly in dandelion root and milk thistle. I take those quite regularly as well. But that's about it for supplementation. The only other thing as far as nutrition that is an absolute staple for me, and I'm sure you've seen it in any of my videos if you've watched them, is that I absolutely vehemently am opposed to caffeine. I do not consume caffeine anymore after, trust me, decades of being brainwashed into thinking that caffeine was necessary. It actually absolutely wreaks havoc on your nervous system, and you will not be able to detox if you drink caffeine because it puts your body into fight or flight mode. And when your body's in fight or flight mode, it holds on to all of the nutrition and all the everything that's in it, and it will not actually release toxins from your body. Whereas when you're in the calm, your nervous system is nice and calm, that is when your body will actually detox. So that's kind of the biggest thing there. And then how do I stay consistent when motivation fades? It's really hard to stay not motivated when you see yourself healing. And when you go look in the mirror and you see six pack abs at the age of almost 47. So I stay motivated every day by how great I feel, how healthy I feel. And when I take my shirt off and I look in the mirror and I see six pack abs, being a former fat kid, that's a big deal for me. So, all right. Um, I feel like that's really going to be it. I don't really know. I'm hoping that some people will watch this live stream, as horrible as it probably is. I'm hoping somebody will watch this live stream and come up with some good questions. I'm definitely going to keep doing these because I'm hoping to build a community of people that are done listening to the hype and this content creator or this influencer or that influencer, and I really just want to show the world that it can be done. So um, please stick around, subscribe, and show me some support and some love. And I will continue to share my message as best that I can.